Coming up on KCCI 8 News Close Up, the Iowa Supreme Court struck down several abortion restriction laws, why last week's appeal of a 2020 law may be different. Plus, the Iowa House passes a bill to ban transgender athletes from playing girls' and women's sports. The debate among lawmakers whether the ban is necessary in Iowa. And expanding child care options, lawmakers want providers to be allowed to watch more kids, why that worries many.
This is Iowa's news leader. This is KCCI 8 News Close Up.
Good morning and thank you for joining us. Last week, the Iowa Supreme Court heard the appeal of a 2020 abortion law. The law requiring anyone seeking an abortion to wait 24 hours was struck down by a lower court. The lower court ruled the law violated the Iowa Constitution in two ways. First, it goes against a 2018 Iowa Supreme Court ruling that found abortion is a right protected by the state constitution. It also found the law violates the Constitution's single subject rule. Lawmakers added the waiting period to an unrelated bill regarding medical care for minors. Now, here are some of the arguments presented to the justices during the appeal last week.
We know from the history of Iowa, since 1843, before the Constitution of Iowa was adopted, Iowa prohibited criminalized abortion. 6 months after the Iowa framers adopted the Iowa Constitution in 1858, the legislature passed a law criminalizing abortion in all cases except for the life of the mother, with no quickening exception, no other exception except for the life of the mother. So if the courts are going to read into the word liberty in the due process clause of this Constitution, the court has to be guided by some neutral principles. Otherwise, what happened in 2018 will happen again, which is that power will be taken from the legislature to regulate an issue. Abortion is different. And again, the laws of the state of Iowa, since the very framing of the Constitution, demonstrate how different it was. So in 1868, this court said that abortion was, quote, abhorrent to all our notions of sound morality and to all the precepts of our holy religion, because it is highly dangerous to the woman and it's fatal to the child. So it's hard for me to imagine how a court today could read into the word liberty, as it was adopted by the framers of the Constitution, a right to do something that was abhorrent to the morality of that day and would never have been understood by the original public meaning.
The state and Alliance Defending Freedom want this case to be something that it's not. It's not a case of first impression, of course, and it's not a case that squarely or properly presents the question of whether abortion is protected under the Iowa Constitution or whether strict scrutiny or undue burden is the appropriate test. That's for numerous reasons, and they are all about process. Process is what this case is really about in the future. So I just want to emphasize that this question of what the appropriate standard is one that the state hasn't even properly put in front of you. It hasn't done the work to be able to do that. It can't overcome the single subject rule violation, and it can't.
Medical procedures. What's wrong with the argument that says, well, we're going to defer generally to the process? I mean, we don't want to be blue penciling what the legislature's doing on a daily basis. This isn't like smuggling abortion into the code editor's bill. They both deal with medical procedures, do they not? Both the regulation of minors and abortion.
Broad umbrella topic is so broad that it would render the single subject rule meaningless. And we know from the case law that it's not meaningless. It's meaningful and it's mandatory. Your question goes to, do waiting periods change women's minds? And the state has not put any evidence in the record that they do, and the unrebutted evidence is that they don't, and that's for two reasons. One, most women, by the time that they make the appointment, have given serious thought and consideration to their decision.
By that argument, it doesn't change their minds. Just like wedding licenses, I don't think you have to do that anymore, but it probably didn't change anybody's mind either. But it just, if anything, it's just that our state believes, hoping, crossing their fingers it will. Is that really so unreasonable to wait?
It is unreasonable because of, under strict scrutiny, I know your question is under an undue burden framework. So it is unreasonable because of the burdens that it places on women seeking a pre-viability abortion. And those burdens are much greater than a 24-hour delay.
Supporters of the waiting period law believe the justices may rule in their favor this time. They say unlike earlier rulings, Governor Reynolds appointed 4 of the 7 current Supreme Court judges to the bench. The ruling on the appeal is expected later this year. Still to come on Close Up, transgender sports ban. Lawmakers debate why Iowa should stop transgender athletes from participating in girls' sports. See what the state could lose if the bill becomes law. Plus, too few child care providers for so many working families. The questions those providers have about the legislature's plan to expand child care. Last week, the Iowa House passed a bill that would require high school and college athletes compete as the gender on their birth certificate. It would effectively ban transgender women from playing girls' sports. Now, before last week's vote, Democrats questioned the bill's sponsor on the need for a ban like this.
And so, and Representative Wheeler, you're no doubt going to be quoted in that eventual Supreme Court ruling. So, just so you're not misquoted, would you mind answering a few questions? Would the gentleman yield?
Will the gentleman yield?
Speaker.
You're in order.
Thank you, Representative Wheeler. And I gave you a heads up about this, right?
Very fair, yes.
Okay. Now, I've heard you say that this bill, that the compelling government interest that justifies and necessitates this bill is A, protect girls' sports, B, assure that girls have a level playing field in athletics, and C, ensure that no girl has to sit on the sideline or be sidelined by a trans girl. Does that pretty much sum it up?
Representative Wolf, the intent of this bill is very clear. We are trying to protect biological females and their ability to compete on a level playing field in their own sports.
Okay, who are you protecting them from?
Protecting them from biological males who have physiological advantages to them.
Okay, and so would you agree that this bill categorically prohibits all transgender girls and women from kindergarten through college from competing on interscholastic athletic teams that align with their gender identity?
No, Representative Wolf, the bill is very clear. The definition of what is contained to this is under 280.13, which is organizations that are 25 schools or more of a school-sponsored activity. So pretty much it's going to fit under the Iowa High School Girls Union and then also the colleges. To your point, are people being banned from participating in sports? No, they are not. The only thing that is prohibited in this is biological males cannot compete in female sports. Biological males, however they decide to identify, can play in male sports all day long.
Okay, but just again, back up a second. But it does prohibit all transgender girls and women, or as you would phrase it, biological men who identify as women from ages 5 through whatever, 21, college, end of college, from competing on interscholastic athletic teams if they are in that category of schools that meet whatever criteria it is. Right?
If they're within the category of an organization, if they are a biological male, they are prevented from playing in female sports.
Okay. And just one more time, exactly why is that?
Representative Wolf, do you want me to go through some of the science on why that is? I mean, I literally stated Title IX was put into place to protect females and their opportunities in sports. Before Title IX was implemented, there was like 300,000 women competing in sports nationwide. Now we have 2.7 million or something like that. So obviously it's done its job. If we go backwards, their opportunities, their chances, their scholarships, their varsity letters are going to be taken away from them. So yes, I think we have a governmental interest to go in and protect them, not to mention all the benefits that competing in athletics can bring to individuals.
So how does a 7-year-old trans girl threaten a 7-year-old bio girl? How does that child playing on a girls' team, how does that threaten girls' sports and the playing field?
Representative Wolf, again, I do not believe this bill is going to deal with 7-year-olds.
Okay, so it's not the intent of the bill to target 7-year-old trans boys?
The bill,
girls, sorry.
You're fine. If you read through it, it's very explicit on what we're targeting. It has to be 25 schools in a sponsored activity. I don't know how you're going to define that at 7 years old for sports. We don't have control. I don't know how we can get control over AAU or, like I said, Little League or any of these other things, USSSA, et cetera.
Okay, but the bill says K through college, correct?
The bill says organizations in 280.13 and then colleges.
Okay. And what about prepubescent trans girls? My reading says that until biological males hit puberty, their testosterone levels are pretty much the same.
Now, the House passed the bill last week with a 55-39 vote. 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats were absent for the vote. Only 1 Republican person voted against the bill. It now goes to the Iowa Senate for debate. Well, 10 states have already passed similar laws preventing transgender girls from participating in girls' sports. Several other states, including Iowa and Indiana, are advancing their bans. If Iowa's bill becomes law, it could put school districts in a position to decide whether to follow state or federal law. Federal law prohibits discrimination on the basis of gender in sports activities. The Nonpartisan Legislative Services Agency warned lawmakers Iowa could risk losing federal funding if the U.S. Department of Education determines the law violates federal rules. At least one Iowa school district has already come out against the bill. Last week, Iowa City Community Schools sent a series of tweets about their opposition to the legislation. Well, Governor Kim Reynolds will give the rebuttal to President Biden's State of the Union speech on Tuesday, why Iowa's governor may have been picked over other national GOP leaders. Plus, Iowa lawmakers want to allow daycare providers to watch more children, the problem some child care providers have with the plan.
Sheepgate, the Division of Adult and Teen Challenges.
One topic Iowa Republicans and Democrats agree on is the lack of affordable child care now preventing more parents from entering the workforce. What they don't agree on is how to fix the problem. Last week, the Iowa Senate debated a bill to expand the number of children each child care provider would be able to care for. Currently, the law says one daycare worker can supervise no more than 6 2-year-olds. The bill would increase that number to 7. Now, while one day care workers can legally supervise 7 3-year-olds now, the bill would allow the same worker to supervise up to 10. Now, the Iowa Senate debated the plan last week, and as you'll hear, lawmakers couldn't agree on whether it would make the child care situation better or worse in Iowa.
Before my Senate career began, I was a child care provider in my home, and I know what it's like to watch little ones all day. I know what it's like, how stressful it can be, and how much awesome responsibility that person has. Right now, child care providers in our state are stressed out, and they're being asked to do things that are kind of unbelievable, really. Most of them make about $1.50 an hour per child that they watch. When I babysat 40 plus years ago, I made $1 an hour. So you're talking wages that haven't gone up for decades for these folks. Yet we're going to heap more responsibility right on top of them and ask them to stay there and not get a raise. That seems like a recipe for disaster to me. We have a child care crisis, we have a workforce crisis, and this is just going to make it worse.
This is voluntary. So, to say that this is going to damage kids, it's absolutely false, because the daycare provider has the ability not to change that ratio, period. So I believe in our daycare providers and them making decisions based around the care of children. So we're empowering them to possibly help get one more parent to work because they could take one more child. Under the current waiver system, they can already get those exemptions. This is just going to allow it without them having that.
Thanks, Kingston. Thanks for sharing.
And passed the full Senate by a vote of 32 to 18. It now goes on to the Iowa House for debate. So what do child care providers and child advocates think of the Senate's plan? We talked with Alex Glenn with Generation X, a child care provider, and Sheila Hansen with the child advocacy group Common Good Iowa.
And so as an advocates, we said, can you imagine, I asked of the legislators, I said, have you ever been in a room alone with 8 toddlers? That's a lot. They're potty training, they're not sharing, they're biting, there's all kinds of things that are going on in a toddler's life. And you put all of them together in one room with all of those behaviors happening. That's a lot to have to be responsible for. And not to mention, you're just responsible for their basic health and safety, but providers are also responsible for, learning, helping them to learn and to grow and basic social skills, those sorts of things at that age.
And unfortunately, in a field of as much burnout as we see, you ask anybody in this industry if they're okay with adding 2 more children on top of an already stressful workday, what that would do, and I would say increase burnout. Our company will probably not take part in that if that does become law. Again, burnout is severe. We want to make sure that every child can be safe, and we're not sure if they can provide as much oversight as we start to increase the number of children.
I guess that would kind of go to my next question of, we're getting serious now in the State House, moving towards the end of session. What do you want lawmakers to know and think about child care?
I want them to know that child care is important. It is fundamental. It is as important as an elementary school. And like I said earlier, I do believe that it's kind of swept under the rug. It's not viewed as important. What that means is we have to start treating our education, our early childhood educators as important as we treat our secondary, our elementary educators. They are teachers, they are instructors, they spend a lot of time with your children. They are the building blocks of what comes next. What that means is we have to treat them with the same respect as we would our teachers. A great thing would be if we had access to the same retirement plans, IPERS, if we as small business owners were able to get some money that would allow us to kind of increase our offerings.
On Tuesday, Governor Reynolds gives the Republican rebuttal to President Biden's State of the Union address, why the Republican Party may have selected Iowa's governor.
If you want the job done right the first time,
This Tuesday, President Biden will give his first State of the Union address before a joint session of Congress. After his address, another first. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds gives the Republicans' rebuttal to a nationwide audience. KCCI's Amanda Rooker talked with political analyst Dennis Goldford about why Governor Reynolds was selected instead of other possible 2024 presidential candidates.
What's the importance of kind of Governor Reynolds, giving the Republican response to the State of the Union address?
It doesn't mean a lot in the long run of things, but on the Republican side, for example, it gives Republicans a chance to showcase, as they did Joni Ernst a few years ago, their support among women. Democrats have claimed to be the party of women for quite some time. Republicans want to show that they, too, are a strong supporter of women and women's issues. And this gives them a chance to showcase support in that particular crucial demographic. At the same time, Governor Reynolds is someone who has been taking a distinctly clear and overt anti-Biden approach to her discussion of the pandemic and other affairs like that. Does that mean she's interested in some political position beyond that of governor of Iowa? Who knows at this point? She may not even know at this point. I think the most important thing facing her right now is that run for re-election in 2022, after which she can decide what she might be interested in doing. But Governor Reynolds speaks to the core Republican constituencies of rural and small town America. We see that here in Iowa. In particular, she speaks to a broader constituency, which actually might be everyone. We all yearn for some return to some sense of normal. And Governor Reynolds, of course, has taken what her critics think is a fairly cavalier approach to dealing with the pandemic. Her supporters are saying, no, this is what you got to do. She said, basically, we just have to get used to it, which I think once we reduce this from a pandemic to an epidemic and then maybe something seasonal like the flu, it'll become that. But Governor Reynolds articulates the yearning for normal, particularly among a lot of Republicans and conservatives. She's been a good spokeswoman for that, even though critics take issue with that.
Do you think that this was kind of a surprising pick, or this seems like someone the Republican Party is pretty familiar with? I was personally kind of surprised it wasn't, someone like Kristi Noem or, Rob DeSantis, but maybe this is a different kind of thing than necessarily touting potential presidential people.
I'm not sure who precisely makes the pick. But that being said, one of the things you want to do as a party leader is try not to give an extra advantage to someone with clear presidential ambitions. And so in picking Governor Reynolds, maybe she has presidential ambitions down the road, but so far, not that we know of. This gives them somebody female who can give a speech in support of Republican goals and issues for very Republican constituencies. And you can choose her and avoid advantaging or disadvantaging potential presidential candidates at this point. We have to remember that the State of the Union response doesn't always turn out well. It didn't go well for Marco Rubio. It's not gone well for others in the past. So I wouldn't overestimate the significance of this. But this is certainly an honor for the governor, and it shows that the Republican powers that be are aware of her. They like her message. They think she has something to communicate to America as a whole, to the extent that America as a whole tunes in for the response to the State of the Union address in any given year.
CBS News will have live coverage of President Biden's State of the Union address, followed by Governor Reynolds' rebuttal. You can watch it Tuesday at 8 p.m. right here on KCCI. Then watch for reaction to both speeches and analysis on KCCI 8 News at 10. Thank you so much for joining us for KCCI 8 News Close Up. We will see you back here next Sunday, same time. Have a wonderful day.